So here's a drill that you've all probably seen before. This drill can actually be a really good drill, but I just want to make sure that you understand why it's a good drill or why you're doing it. What a lot of athletes do is they see this online and then they just want to go do it, but they don't understand why they're doing it. And I think if you can understand why you're doing it, then it's going to make it that much better, because then you'll actually be able to know how to program it into your athlete training or to your own training as well. So there's a lot that goes into passing, like platform mechanics, platform accuracy, tracking. There's so many things, right? But one of the reasons why I would be doing this drill with an athlete is for platform mechanics and platform accuracy. For platform mechanics, what I mean is just being able to form your platform and the skill of bringing your arms together nice and straight, thumbs together, elbows down, staying in that old man position, right, nice and forward, and just being able to form your platform and get a nice contact on the ball. There are other ways that we can do this as well, like shadow passing. I do that a lot with my athletes, but this is a good way to kind of bridge that gap and implement it into actual passing. Now for platform accuracy, this involves tracking, but it's more isolated just to the platform because we're not actually moving here in this drill. So we're still learning to identify the trajectory of the ball and track it on our platform, but it's more so isolated on just the platform accuracy. So what I mean by platform accuracy is being able to contact the ball at a good spot on your platform. And what I call this is the sweet spot, right? So right now I'm wearing a watch, right? That ball should not hit my wrist. That ball should not be hitting the watch area, right? It should be hitting above it and slightly just midway toward the elbow. Okay, this is that sweet spot. And when we form our platform together, it's nice and flat here, right? So it's a sweet spot. What a lot of athletes do is they're contacting it up here, or they're contacting it on their wrists, or they're contacting it outside on the forearm and they're shanking the balls. So for this drill, when we're working on platform accuracy, we're just working on one, forming that platform, but then contacting it here in that sweet spot every single time. That's the goal, right? And what you'll find is that sometimes the trajectory of the pass is a little bit off, right? So sometimes it's not always straight here, right? Sometimes it'll be off here to the side, and then we have to actually adjust and get it on that sweet spot there. And what happens to some people is they come out here, but it contacts either this part of their arm and it just goes straight down, contacts the wrist, it goes out to back, or up here and it goes behind us, right? So this is a really good way to just focus on platform accuracy and overall platform mechanics. That's why I would do this drill, right? We're just working on hitting that sweet spot, and what you'll find is there is a nice sound whenever you do it. So you're actually working on your tracking as well, the better you get at this. So you know wherever the ball is, you know how far you need to reach out, how much you need to angle it, right? So platform mobility, how much you need to angle it to get it to that sweet spot. Now, one of the other reasons why I would use this drill is for platform manipulation or ball manipulation as well, right? So our ability to control a platform, just like what I was saying before, being able to get out there and get that platform mobility, it all goes into kind of like platform control and ball manipulation, right? So if we have a target on the wall, now we can work on actually manipulating our platform to manipulate the ball, right? So there's a lot that goes into it, but when we get it to a target, it kind of works on itself here, right? So still working on the sweet spot, but now we're trying to get it at a target here, right? Every single time, trying to get it on that target. And you have to adjust. And then the better you get at it, the better you're actually able to control the ball, right? Now what we're doing is, instead of telling an athlete to get that angle, we're trying to give them a target to hit. Now they're automatically adjusting their platform and giving it some juice and direction so that it can go and hit that target. Now, of course, we're not always passing like this, right? We're not always going to be super close, and the trajectory is not going to be that low if we are passing as well, right? So it's a very good way to just get some general manipulation. And I think that that is a good thing to do, but eventually we can move forward and progress it so it's a little bit more specific to what we're going to be doing in the game. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing to do. I think it's still a good thing to maintain and get those touches in, but we do need to get a little bit more to what we're going to see and teach our body these angles, this tracking and ball manipulation skills in a way that we're actually going to see it in a game. Right? So what we can do is, if you have a little bit more space, you can measure out 3 meters from the wall, right? So this is assuming that it's just you and the wall. You can measure out 3 meters from the wall. And what I'm doing here is I'm assuming that this wall is the attack line. Okay, so normally we're gonna be about halfway from the attack line to the serving line when we're passing, more or less, right? But this just gives you a guideline based off of what you have of how you need to pass the ball and the angles that you actually need to get. So now what we can do is we can toss the ball and pass it, or just keep passing it repeatedly from this spot here. And if we know that the end here is the attack line, what we want is the ball to meet right at the halfway point. We want it to be at the highest point when it touches the wall. And the way that you can tell is if it dives down before it hits the wall, or if it lands in that corner, you know that that pass was too short and we need to angle it. We need to get a little bit more behind to push that ball forward a little bit. And the way to know if it's an overpass or just too far is if when it contacts it, the ball actually goes up a little bit more, right? So it's more so like this. It goes up. What we want to do is find the point where it reaches its peak and then just comes right back down. And it's okay if it's a little bit coming down when it contacts the ball, but we don't want it to be dropping on that corner, okay? So we gotta find a way, and this is actually a really good way to get some ball control, manipulation, right? And figure out that touch. The other thing with this is you wanna make sure you get enough height, right? We're not just going here like this. We need to get enough height on it. So what I recommend is about 10 feet or more, but I don't mean get it super high, just higher so that the setter can actually get into a good position. Obviously, if you're trying to run a faster offense, you don't need a lot of time, but we don't want it to be super low so that the setter has to bump set the ball, right? We want to put it in their hands. So if I'm here just working on my sweet spot, I'm getting nice in that old man position, right? Staying in that position, and every time trying to contact it on that sweet spot position. Every time. Out to the left. The better you get at this, the better you'll know how far you need to reach out or where you need to position yourself so that that ball always contacts you on that sweet spot, as opposed to something like this here, right? We don't want to be here, and we don't want it to be too far. We get better at seeing where the ball is and tracking it so we get to this position. This is the goal position, right? We always want it to go there. So if you imagine like there's a magnet here in this sweet spot, and that ball always has to come toward that magnet. It pulls right to it. So that can be something that you visualize, right? No matter where it is, even if it's super low or if it's far, right? We're trying to get into that position to contact it there. And if we get used to contacting it there all the time, our body's going to adjust. And more often than not, we're going to be trying to get into that position to contact it there. Or when it's low, sometimes what people do is they don't go low enough, or they don't get underneath the ball enough or behind, and it contacts their wrists, right? So the better we can get at tracking that ball, then we're able to actually get into the position that we need to so that it can contact that sweet spot and a good angle for that ball to go up and toward the setter. Now you could do repeats on the wall, but what you can do is start off with just tossing, okay, tossing and then trying to get into that sweet spot while contacting it, so the trajectory makes it so that it hits the ball at its highest point. So what this can tell you is if it's reaching the wall at its highest point, then that's half of the trajectory. And the next half is going to be the same. And if we know that this is 3 meters and then the next 3 meters is right toward the net, then we know that it's going to reach the net in that next half. But of course, you don't know exactly if it's at the highest point or if it would have stayed at the highest point for longer. All those things matter, but it's a rough guide, so just use it as a rough guide. Then what the hope is that you'll have access to a court soon, and then you'll get actual reps in with serves and watching it land toward where you want it to go. So overall, yes, I think this drill is good, but it just depends on how you use it. Just like everything, right? It depends on how you use it. And if we're using it for these reasons, then I think it can be a really good drill. It's great for beginners, great for somebody who wants to just get some touches. They don't have access to a court, but they have a ball on a wall. Then it's a really good thing to do, just to keep that touch, keep the manipulation, see the ball, get that tracking down. Then what we would do is when we finally get access to a court or something like that, we actually have these skills ingrained. Then we just need to get the touches off of a serve and then get our movements down a little bit better. But there are also drills for that tracking movement as well. But this is a really good one to isolate the platform and isolate these specific things like platform accuracy, platform mechanics, and some platform manipulation and ball manipulation as well. Let's get it.